Welcome to CP Stated, the official podcast of Cerebral Palsy Associations of New York State, better known as CP State. We're here to explore the issues, stories, and people shaping the world of disability services in New York. CP State is a statewide association representing a network of nonprofit organizations that provide direct services to more than 100,000 people with intellectual and developmental disabilities. From housing and education to healthcare and employment, our affiliates deliver critical supports that empower people to live with dignity and independence. Each episode will highlight the policy debates, community innovations, and personal stories that define our work. Whether you're a provider, advocate, family member, or self-advocate, CP Stated is your place to connect, learn, and engage. I'm CP State Executive Vice President Carly Smelson. Joining us today are members of CP State's Emerging Leaders Committee.
My name's Brianne Flewelling. I am a senior team director working with RACR.
Hi, I'm Laura Beth Milkowski. I'm the Vice President of Day Services, and I'm with Aspire of Western New York.
My name is Layla Hazlett, and I'm the Director and Clinical Coordinator of Adult Services at Pathfinder Village.
The Emerging Leaders are rising stars from CP State's 30 affiliates. They come together to network, shadow CP State's Board of Directors, and work on various special projects like the podcast you're hearing now. Thanks for listening. Let's get started.
And we just wanted to come up with some questions that really give us a look into who we are as a person outside of work, in work, and how do we balance those in between. First to you, Laura Beth, is what inspired you to pursue your current career?
So for me, I really did not know much about the human service field. I went to school for education, got out of school, and as many of us do, sometimes we realize that might not be where our passion lies. So I was lucky enough to have a friend who worked for another organization and kind of said, hey, try out a group home, see what that's all about. So I started out working direct care in a group home 28 years ago. And obviously, kind of like it because I'm still in the organization. I've been lucky enough to try out many aspects of the field. And I think the reason I decided to pursue this career, it just felt so right. It felt like I was meant to do what I do. So I feel like working with people with differing abilities just fits right in line with who I am. And I've just been really blessed to be doing this for the last 28 years.
I'm going to actually pop it back to myself for this because Laura Beth and I have very similar experiences coming to this field. I went to school for childhood unified education at Keuka College in the Finger Lakes. And my work study job from freshman year up to senior year was working through the Mosaic, formerly known as Arc of Yates, and their DRIVE program, which is supporting individuals with disabilities in a school setting. So they went to different classes that the college provided. They had their own math, science, kitchen skills, life skills classes. And most days I looked forward more to going to my work study job than going to my class. I didn't realize it then, though, where I was going to end up, 4 more years into it. But I took some time off after college, came back to New York because I went down to Florida for a few months. And my stepmother was actually working for RACR. And I came back. I didn't know what I want to do. I didn't want to teach. I already, went to school for 4 years. Now I'm kind of lost. And she's like, come to RACR, try it out. And I did try it out, and I'm still here. I started as a shift coordinator, and which led me to be a team director, to a senior team director with many, many hats. So it's been a really nice kind of segue, especially when people are like, you just went to school for 4 years. Why aren't you a teacher? And my answer each time to their question is really, I don't think I'd feel fulfilled in a classroom, but I definitely leave most days feeling fulfilled from leaving the home. So it's really a great, kind of very similar to Laura Beth. I didn't know that. That's really cool. What about you, Layla?
Yeah, I feel like we all kind of align where we didn't expect to fall in love with what we're doing until we got in the field and realized what a great and fulfilling role it is. So similarly, when I graduated high school, I had the goal of becoming an occupational therapist one day. I got my bachelor's in sociology and then took a year off from school before going back to school for OT, and ended up finding Pathfinder Village and thought for a year, I'll be a DSP or something like that and try it out. I ended up taking a role as a transition specialist in what's our post secondary education program at Pathfinder Village. Within a few months, I became a house manager. And then I kind of had to force myself to leave to go back to school because I knew that was my end goal, as hard as it was. Eventually graduated with my master's in OT, and then worked in the field as an OT for a few years, but truly never felt fulfilled until I found my way back to Pathfinder Village, and got to work with the people that I originally fell in love with and wanted to work with. So it's a very rewarding career.
A lot of people that I work with, this wasn't something that, you grew up going to high school, going to college, and I'm going to do this one day. There's not as much advertisement, at least when I was going to high school and college. But I feel like now it's more out there. There's the billboards, there's people, there's the commercials, the radio, and I just don't remember growing up hearing a lot of those things. So I feel like at least it's out there more into the world. Inclusion is such a big word nowadays that was not as big even when I was going to high school 10 years ago. So to
I
keep
absolutely, oh,
go ahead. No, go
I
ahead.
absolutely agree with that. I think more and more as we're getting immersion into the community, people know us. Maybe not our names, maybe not our titles, but they know what we do in general, which I think is just a testament to where the field has grown and the impact that our the people we work with are making in the world.
That's a really great point. So kind of, we're inspired, we're here. So what makes us come back each day? It's my job. It's my responsibility. I like to be responsible. I have integrity. But really, what makes me go back each day, for me, working in a house mainly, is the residents. Every day when I walk in to know, I'm going to brighten their day and they're going to brighten my day, is really a great thing for me. I love spending time with them and just those simple little learning experiences they have each day. I've been supporting a resident who 5 years ago, he didn't shower, he didn't brush his teeth barely, and now he's at the point where all of those are regular things, and now we're working on the fun things. We're learning how to sign, help me. We're learning how to effectively communicate along the way, and those are just the things that, if I'm not there, I'm not helping guide the people along to help guide the residents, and that's just a really big thing for me.
I think we can all probably align on this one as well. I think we all do what we do because of the people we support, and that's what brings us back to work every day. In my role as the director of adult services, some days can be writing policies or doing the things behind a desk that aren't so fun. But what's so rewarding is you can leave your office and go outside and maybe join a kickball game or start making muffins with a group that's doing that. And every day is a little bit different. You're never doing the same thing every day. But no matter what you're doing, you know that it's rewarding and it's going to be helping somebody to achieve a level of independence they never dreamed of or reach a goal that they've always wanted to.
Again, I'm going to co-sign with both of your sentiments, but I think the great thing about no matter where you fall in our organizations, we touch the people we support in some way, shape, or form. It's really so nice to walk into a facility to see people excited to see you. I mean, what other job do you have where someone runs down a hall excited to see you, almost making you feel so important, so special? Uh, I also have been very lucky to have integrated my family into creating relationships with the people we support. So, as both of you, I help facilitate and support the management for day services or for the residents. And I might not be doing hands on care every day, but I'm being touched by the people we support. And just that, you walk in and you might have had someone cut you off on the ride in, and someone says your name, and it just kind of stops you in your tracks and it kind of turns your day right around. So I don't think a lot of jobs have that ability to really impact how your day aligns just with a smile or a handshake or a hug. I think we're all really lucky to be doing what we do.
It's a really good point, Laura. I always say to my family and friends when they ask me about my job that I'll never be, I'll never win a Grammy or an Oscar, but I get to be a celebrity every day at work, or at least that's how it feels. Because you do just feel so supported and loved and appreciated for what you do.
What do you feel has been your biggest impact within your role in organization? And for me, I talk about our activities committee. COVID really shut so many things down. Activities, drive-throughs, the mall, everything was just so constricted during that time. And so many regulations were coming out that no one was getting together. There was no getting together to have a meal with other houses. You stayed within your sector kind of thing. Um, and so as soon as everything started, coming off, the restrictions were lifted here, there, within our organization, within the community, we started back up our activity committee. Our activity committee does bingo, craft nights, dances, movie nights, and all of these are resident driven. That's really the impact I feel, because at the end of the day, the impact isn't about, staff coming in or is all my paperwork done. The impact's for the residents and their joy. And that's really what I'm here for at the end of the day. And it's what they really enjoy.
Yeah, I would say kind of similarly. Of course, it's the individuals we serve and the impact we make with them. I feel really blessed to have had the experiences, both in my career and educationally, to be where I'm at today. And I think being an occupational therapist has allowed me to have kind of a unique perspective working with the people we serve. So I've just been able to kind of be innovative and create some programming because of that background. So in our pre-vocational program, I helped to develop a vocational kind of curriculum to help people get jobs and be successful in their jobs. And we've seen really good outcomes from that. And I'm currently working on helping to develop a mobility and strengthening program for some of the older adults that attend some of our day service programs so that they can reduce the amount of falls that they're having and just improve their quality of life. So I love being able to kind of take a clinical twist on things and implement some of my experience in different ways to help the people we support.
I love that. And I think for both of you, for Layla, Brianne, I think utilizing your creative spirit really is so nice in our field, because there really are no boundaries. We have no boundaries on what we can help to be part of. So one of the things very in line with both of you, I think from a therapeutic standpoint and from a recreational standpoint, about 20 years ago, I feel so old. 20 years ago, I was also working at Aspire Western New York. And at that time, I was running our recreation program, a night and weekend kind of respite program. And a parent from another organization was kind of trying to rally the troops together of the organizations to develop a competitive adult softball league. And I'm not that lady, But I was doing the rec program. So I was brought into that and learned so much about adaptive equipment for, the people we support, and umpiring and learning the rules. And I became integrated into this organization that was an offshoot of Aspire of Western New York. And we are still thriving. And I'm still part of that organization and as a representative of Aspire. And every summer we run a softball league for adults with disabilities or differing abilities. And I'm extremely proud of that because it's competitive. There is a winner and there is a loser, and we celebrate both because why? That's real life. So it's been such a joy to be part of that and see people improve their skills. Again, like Layla said, it really helps with mobility and just movement and sportsmanship and all those great things that we learn from being parts of, our committees. So I'm really lucky to have been part of that opportunity.
Yeah, because softball's not just learning softball, it's learning how to
No,
take turns, it's learning
exactly.
um, precision, learning how to work with others, how to effectively communicate. And that's just so great. I really feel like anytime you're getting those collaborative activities together, it's not just, a one way. There's so many different ways to go off to learn. And not only, for the people that we're supporting, but also for the staff to learn how to collaborate with others. It doesn't just have to be yourself. It's okay to ask for help and to ask for other people's input to really, make everyone better together.
Definitely. And to celebrate the wins and to celebrate the losses. And I can tell you, we have a banquet every year, and the winning team is just as happy as the team that came dead last. Everybody gets a trophy, maybe different size trophies, but everyone's thrilled.
We're going to kind of offshoot off of, we keep talking about all these happy things. And it kind of, for me, the next question is more of a little harder for myself, which is what does balance mean to you and how do you achieve it? Within my first year as a team director, having a whole team, the house, everything, I got sat down and got a whole conversation about work-life balance because there was work, but there was no life in the balance. And that's something I have always continued to struggle about. And I think that's always going to be a struggle for people that really care and have their heart fully in there. And that is something that I've always struggled with, mostly for the fact of when I go home, work doesn't turn off. I don't shut off a computer, walk out, and there's nothing else that can happen. When I go home, there's still 4 individuals and a whole team of staff that I'm still going to think about, care about. Is everything okay? And it took me a long time to learn, I need to find those things outside of work that give me the balance so I'm my full self while I'm there. And my things are a little more little different for myself. It's always a joke at any of our meetings for work. But I read, which is pretty traditional. People like to read when they get out of work. I like to play Fortnite. That is my relaxation. That is my ultimate. I am checked out of work. And it took me a while to get there to learn those things. And my husband always tells me the only time he feels like I truly disconnect from work, the world, everything that's going on is if I'm reading or I'm playing Fortnite. And right before, today has not been a great day for me. So I came home, I played a round of Fortnite. I actually won it. And then I'm rushing to the laptop to jump on with you guys. So it was a really nice kind of, today has been a really I'm running on a 2, but it was really nice, check out, care about myself. And I got to get up to, 6 or 7 when, not every day can be a 9, 10.
Yeah, I think, like you said, when you're passionate about something, it's really hard to turn that off. And maybe that's a good thing. Maybe because we're so passionate and love what we do, you don't get burnout as easily, even if you're thinking about it all the time. For me, balance is hard because I am pretty ambitious. I'm currently going back to school and I'm going in my current role, and I have a toddler at home and I have another baby on the way. So there's a lot of moving parts and a lot of things going on. For me, it really comes down to spending time with my family, and when I do leave work, trying to get out of the headspace of work and spending time with my toddler and my husband and enjoying the outdoors and being in nature and just taking it all in. But it is a fine balance and it's hard to find sometimes.
I feel like I'm learning so much about you guys through this, but I feel very similar, Brianne. I've been in the field a really long time and I really struggled with separating myself from work. It was almost like, can I do more? What more can I do? How much of my heart and soul can I give? And it does lead to you kind of almost forgetting who you are outside of work. So for me, having I have a teenager. I have a 15-year-old. He no longer needs me as much as he used to, which again is also a difficult thing in life. So because I think it's nice to be needed. So when I go home after work, my sanctuary is really my two cats. And I always tell them they're like my little therapeutic cats because they are so happy to see me when I get home and there's no complaints and they literally are asked very little of me and they give me so much joy. And I think sometimes in this field, we spend a lot of time giving of ourselves. And sometimes when you have that unconditional love just given back to you, you just can't get enough of it. So that really, I love my family. I love what I do. But right now, where I lie in my life, and it's very funny because I remember thinking when I was growing up, why does my mom love the cats so much more than me? And it's not, it's just they give you this really like, I don't know, animals just give you something that humans can't. So that's what creates balance for me. It really grounds me.
Yeah, there's a lot to be said about, the feeling of being wanted with nothing that you need to give. We got to find those things. And whether it be a cat, a hike, I love to go hiking all the time too, kind of like Layla said, nature. It's just, one thing that works one day may not work the next. And it's good to have different vices to really, take care of yourself and not necessarily always taking care of other people. Because I love to take care of people, but I have to remind myself, it's okay to take care of myself sometimes too. It's not selfish.
It
I'm still
absolutely,
learning that.
giving yourself grace and making sure you take care of yourself. They say you have to give yourself the oxygen first before you can give it to anyone else on the airplane. So it is really important that we feed our own souls.
We've talked about ourselves, our roles, why we're here. I kind of want to think about what it's going to look like in the next decade. Where do we see ourselves? We're all in very different roles and different organizations and capacities. So we're going to probably be on very different wavelengths. Layla, with the OT background, I'm sure is going to think very differently in where we're going to be versus how I'm going to think in a more, educational background in a home.
I think we all can agree we want to see the field evolve in a positive light. I really go back to when I think like 10 years back from now, even just the world we live in general, how much it's evolved in that time. It's hard to imagine what it could be in 10 years, just with technology and all the things that are changing in the world and how that will affect our industry and the people we support. So I'm really excited about the innovation side of things and what that can look like for the people we support and how it will support them to be more independent. For me, it also comes back to, I know and you guys know how great individuals with disabilities are and the value they add to our lives. And I really hope that in the future we can see that expand more to the people that don't work with them every day. So when I go to a friend's wedding, I hope that I see somebody with a disability there. And when I go to the ice cream shop, I hope that they're in line in front of me. And really creating spaces where everybody belongs and is valued as members of society. And I hope that as time progresses, we'll see that more and more.
For myself, for how I think this field's going to evolve in the next decade, history's kind of shown we only have anywhere, there's nowhere to go but up from here. And I'm hoping that's what we continue to do. This question, I think, is very driving behind our political, atmosphere we're currently in is changing every day. We don't have to get into intense politics to really discuss this, but unfortunately, politics is a big thing that goes behind us, especially financially. So, in my perspective, if finances aren't a problem, the policy is going with us. My goal is we're getting to the point that every home is a home. We're not seeing more of those houses that are, quote unquote, institutional. A lot of that is getting away. In an education background, the biggest thing for students in schools, we would discuss the least restrictive environment. And I'm really hoping we get to a day where we can say each resident that we're supporting, whether they're living in any of the group homes, they're living independently on their own, living still with family, that they're in the least restrictive environment, and being able to get to that point without having to go through all the hoops to jump through. And a lot of hoops are to jump through to get anywhere. I personally just supported a resident with getting a new shower and commode chair. It took me 8 months going back and forth with insurance to get it approved. This is I think it's like $8,000, a crazy number. And so we could pay out of pocket, but if insurance will cover it, we want to try that. And so I'm hoping one day maybe there isn't as much hoops to go through, not as much proving. And hopefully there's people that, are using the system the way the system is there for the residents. And
I think we can all co-sign this is that if we are thinking about this question, we're thinking about it in the ideal financial climate. And I think I can jump right on board with what Brianne is saying about making sure that the person has what they need, the supports that they need. When I think of in a day environment, it's that fluidity that we don't just plop people in a day hab and leave them there, that we're developing skills so they can get wherever they want to go, wherever that might be. So many times that someone finds a placement and it is so hard to find a different placement, and it shouldn't be that way. If you don't like your job, we can all go someplace else. We shouldn't have these restrictions on, hey, it's not working. It's nothing personal. It's just not working. So where do we go from here? I'm sure, Brianne, you see that all the time in residences is someone ends up having emergency placement, and that's where they lie, even though it might not fit the person, it might not fit their peers. Really fitting the person to the placement versus the other way around. You would love to see that fluidity and make sure that we're making good decisions with the person and making sure that it doesn't just, we don't base it on geography. We don't base it on, oh, we have an opening, let's put that person there. Let's make sure it makes sense. Is this the right placement for that person? And are we giving them those opportunities that they deserve? So I hope, really hope that we move in that direction.
We're talking about how the field is, we hope the field evolves, how we've gotten here, and I guess how do we see ourselves evolve down the road, whether it's 5 years, 10 years. And I'll start it off. And I actually just looked back. I recently went from team director to senior team director. And one of the questions I had to answer was, where do you see yourself? And I always joke with everybody, whether it's my coworkers, my boss, probably our executive director knows this. I always joke that I want to run this company one day. Um, it's just figuring out how I'm segueing to that. And for me, my biggest thing of why I don't want to move up, I don't want to go to the next step, is I love coming into work every day with the residents. And the second I move up to that next level, my position is not based out of a house. And for me, the reason I'm still doing this job is for them. And I know I can still do my job for them moving up, but I don't get to see them every day. And right now, I have time to do that. I don't have kids. I have my cats at home. And right now, I'm spending as much time as I can, either, at home hanging out with the cats and my husband, or at work going to the movies, planning bingo nights, figuring out making the menu for the next week with one of the residents. And for me, that's really where I want to be right now. But one day I want to, just keep on going. Like I said, there's nowhere but up from here for me. What about you, Laura Beth? Where do you see yourself?
I'm in a very unique position because I am lucky enough. I have recently received a promotion in the last 2 weeks. So I really haven't even got a chance to kind of take in everything by any means of my new role as the VP of Day Services. And isn't it interesting? And I bet both you, Brianne, and you, Layla, could say the same thing, is if I looked back at myself 10 years ago, the fact that I am where I am now, I feel so incredibly lucky that I've been given this opportunity. And very similar to what you said, Brianne, I was very nervous about the lack of contact. And I'm just as connected in just a different capacity. It's a little bit more on my own terms than it is, on the day to day, but I am connected every day with the persons we support. I also, so in the next decade, I anticipate probably being right where I am and getting a really good working knowledge of supporting day services. I came from a residential background and loved it and loved every bit about it, and then fell into day services, and now it's my wheelhouse. And I also love the fact that it's a Monday through Friday program. So even if my brain's wheels are spinning, I can still take a little break off of it. So I hope to be the best vice president of day services that I can be. We've had some amazing leadership, but I hope to be able to really link that administration with the frontline supervisor team and do it in a way that's thoughtful and really, as we all said, supports the needs of the people that attend program, because they should be our everything. They should lead every decision we make.
I love that mindset of I want to be the best that I can be. It's not comparing yourself to previous people. It's what, everyone's going to bring different things to the table, and you're never going to be the, person that was before you. So I really like that mindset, the best within your limitations and
Sure.
well, not limitations,
Of
but
course.
within
Yeah.
your life and abilities, just as we're supporting everybody else.
Yeah, that's really great. I would agree. I hope, to grow in my career and in the agency that I currently work for, and hopefully advance from where I'm at now. I don't know exactly what that would look like, but I'm sure there's opportunities out there, and I hope to meet them. But on a bigger scale impact, also looking outside our organization and seeing just the evolution in the field of IDD services and how we can have an impact across the nation, really. I was really blessed to be able to go to San Diego and attend a conference recently with providers all across the country. And it was really quite eye-opening to hear what people are doing in different states, some far more advanced than what we're doing in New York State, and some, I was like stepping back in time hearing about what they're doing. So it's interesting to see how, just as one country, how different the services we provide can be from one state to another, and thinking about how, as providers in New York State, we can have an impact at other state levels, or at a national level, and what that could look like. So that's not very descriptive or specific on what that could be, but it's kind of enlightening to think about what the possibilities are.
Yeah, it's nice to think how, like you said, different states are at different spots, and to hear that you're going back in time in states. So it's how do we get those, everyone work together? So it sounds like we're kind of maybe in the middle in New York, but what if, there's a way that we can figure out what are those states that are ahead of us, quote unquote, or necessarily behind, how we can help support them, or how can we learn from what these other states are doing to help us go forward. If we don't need to reinvent the wheel, if the wheel is already there. So how can we, collaborate with those other organizations to figure out, what are you doing, what's worked, what's not worked? Why waste time if we already know this isn't working? We've tried it, and maybe it can be tweaked, tried a different way, or, maybe we just go for it.
Yeah, and I think out of everything out of this conversation, we've all learned about each other, that we're all, working towards similar goals. And even though we're at different organizations and agencies, we all, have the same purpose in what we do and the reason why we show up day to day. So it's really enlightening to think about how agencies across not just New York State, but across the country can really work together and put our minds together to achieve really big goals and support the people that we do.
That's a wrap on this first episode of CP Stated. Huge thanks to our guests for kicking things off with such heart and honesty. Their reflections on what drives them, whether it's the people, the purpose, or the possibilities, set the tone for the conversations ahead. We're just getting started. In upcoming episodes, we'll explore critical topics shaping our field, including advocacy that drives real change, the financial realities behind supporting quality services, and more conversations with the people who keep our system strong. Make sure to subscribe, follow, and share CP Stated with your network. We're here to inform, inspire, and amplify the voices moving disability services forward. Thanks for listening, and until next time, stay connected, stay committed, and stay CP Stated.